walked away, essentially, at the peak.
Well, it seemed to me that was the only intelligent thing to do.
More than 30 years have passed since Dire Straits left the stage, though one question continues to come up even today. Why has Mark Knopfler remained so determined not to bring this legendary band back together?
Well, I can't think of anything good about Fame. I didn't want it to be that size.
Not worth it.
Not worth it.
Millions of fans once believed that with just one agreement, Dire Straits could launch the biggest classic rock reunion tour in history. Even so, the man behind Sultans of Swing repeatedly turned down every offer, including enormous amounts of money. What surprised audiences even more was that the real reason had nothing to do with age or fame. Take a look back at the story behind the breakup of Dire Straits to understand why Mark Knopfler made a decision that would never change.
It got so big that, and you'd walk into catering and see some guys you just didn't know.
Yeah.
And I didn't like that.
Dire Straits was formed in August 1977 in London with a lineup consisting of Mark Knopfler, David Knopfler, John Illsley, and Pick Withers. The band quickly attracted attention with its blues-influenced rock sound and Mark Knopfler's signature fingerstyle guitar technique. Within a short time, Dire Straits had carved out its own place during the late 1970s rock wave. The band's debut album, released in 1978,
You get a shiver in the dark, it's raining in the park, but meantime,
turned Dire Straits into a new phenomenon in British rock music. Sultans of Swing quickly received heavy international radio airplay and helped the band break into the American market. Their rapid success also began creating major pressure within the group, especially during the songwriting and recording process. From the very first albums, Mark Knopfler held an almost absolute central role in Dire Straits. He handled most of the songwriting, sound direction, and album construction. This helped the band maintain a clear identity, though it also caused the distance between Mark Knopfler and the other members to grow over time. The first major conflict emerged during the recording sessions for Making Movies. David Knopfler was reportedly unhappy with his brother's highly controlling working style in the studio. Tension constantly surfaced between the two brothers, as Mark Knopfler demanded that every detail be carried out exactly according to his vision. Many reports later revealed that arguments between Mark Knopfler and David Knopfler took place directly inside the studio. David felt that his voice no longer carried any real value within the band. After weeks of tension, he decided to leave Dire Straits before the album was completed, creating a major shock for fans at the time. David Knopfler's departure marked the first major change in the history of Dire Straits. From that point forward, Mark Knopfler almost completely controlled the band's operations. Even though Dire Straits continued achieving strong commercial success, the internal atmosphere no longer maintained the same balance as in the early years. After Making Movies, Dire Straits went on to release Love Over Gold, an album with a far more ambitious and complex sound.
you're a dancer on ice.
Mark Knopfler spent a great deal of time refining the music and demanded extremely high standards in the studio. This working style placed growing pressure on the other members. Pick Withers, the drummer who had been with the band since the beginning, started feeling exhausted by the strict working environment. He no longer felt comfortable with the lengthy schedules and constant creative pressure. After Love Over Gold, Pick Withers chose to leave Dire Straits, further changing the band's core structure. Even with continuous lineup changes, Dire Straits continued growing strongly during the early 1980s. Mark Knopfler became one of the world's most recognized guitarists and earned praise for his distinct performance style. Behind the stage lights, though, he began losing interest in the increasingly massive scale of the band.
And where are you when the sun goes down?
Brothers in Arms, released in 1985, pushed Dire Straits to the top of the international rock market. The album's success far exceeded expectations selling tens of millions of copies worldwide. Massive stadiums, long tours, and packed schedules quickly became constant pressure for Mark Knopfler. The Brothers in Arms tour stretched across hundreds of performances in multiple countries. Dire Straits became one of the most successful touring bands of that era. The overwhelming workload left the members with almost no time to rest and created lasting exhaustion within the group. After the tour ended, Mark Knopfler gradually lost interest in the operating model of Dire Straits. He no longer wanted to continue pursuing massive tours and the growing pressure of commercial success. In 1988, Dire Straits entered a temporary hiatus as the members felt completely burned out. That final tour completely changed the way Mark Knopfler viewed fame and the life of a rock star. Final tour. After a period of inactivity, Dire Straits unexpectedly returned with the album On Every Street. This comeback quickly created major momentum in the international music market. Fans expected the band to continue the success they had achieved with Brothers in Arms a few years earlier. On Every Street was released in 1991 and immediately achieved strong sales across Europe. Dire Straits still maintained its position as one of the most famous rock bands in the world. Behind the commercial success, though, Mark Knopfler had already begun developing a very different view of the band's future. The tour promoting the album was quickly launched on an enormous scale. Dire Straits performed more than 300 shows across multiple countries and attracted over 7 million fans. Massive stage systems, traveling equipment, and non-stop schedules turned this into one of the biggest concert tours of the early 1990s. The heavy workload caused pressure on the members to increase steadily. Dire Straits constantly traveled between major cities while maintaining an intense performance schedule for months. For Mark Knopfler, life on the road started feeling unfamiliar and lost the natural sense it once had during the early years of his career. In many later interviews, Mark Knopfler admitted that he no longer felt comfortable with the stadium tour model. The guitarist believed the growing scale had gradually stripped music of its intimacy. He began feeling more like part of an industrial machine than an artist. Mark Knopfler later described the On Every Street tour with harsh phrases such as utter misery and dehumanizing. This became one of the rare public statements revealing the level of pressure he experienced while touring. Those comments also surprised many people because Dire Straits was still achieving enormous commercial success at the time. According to many sources within the music industry, Mark Knopfler gradually lost interest in performing in massive stadiums. He no longer wanted to continue a lifestyle built around constant movement between hotels, airports, and stages. The ongoing exhaustion pushed him to prioritize personal life over maintaining the image of a rock superstar. After the tour ended, Dire Straits almost completely stopped operating on a regular basis. The band never released an official breakup announcement, though Mark Knopfler began focusing almost entirely on personal projects. This was also the moment when the public realized the possibility of Dire Straits returning was becoming smaller and smaller. Unlike many artists of his era, Mark Knopfler did not try to maintain the image of a rock star after reaching the peak of fame. He chose a quieter lifestyle, spending most of his time writing and recording in his private studio. This change clearly reflected his perspective on music and life after years of working on a global scale. Through his solo projects, Mark Knopfler pursued a softer and more personal musical direction. He preferred smaller creative spaces with less pressure and no longer depended on lengthy stadium tours. This stood in complete contrast to the operating model Dire Straits experienced during its most famous years. In 2012, Mark Knopfler publicly spoke more openly for the first time about not wanting to reunite Dire Straits. He stated that he was satisfied with his current life and no longer had any desire to return to large-scale touring. The statement quickly drew attention because fans were still constantly hoping for an official reunion. Many concert promoters were reportedly willing to make enormous offers to bring Dire Straits back to the stage. Even so, Mark Knopfler repeatedly turned them down. For him, the issue was never about money or fame, but about refusing to return to the pressure that had once left him emotionally exhausted. John Ilsley also confirmed many times that Mark Knopfler rejected extremely large sums of money to reunite Dire Straits. Even while maintaining a good relationship with the former members, Mark never changed his position. This made the possibility of the band returning almost non-existent for many years. One of the most discussed moments was Mark Knopfler's appearance on BBC Breakfast in 2024. He stated that he did not believe Dire Straits would reunite and confirmed that he felt happy with his current private studio. The musician also said he had never experienced a bad day while working there. Even though they no longer perform together, Dire Straits still left a massive impact on the history of modern rock music. Before closing the final chapter of its journey, the band created a level of success that very few artists of the same era could ever reach. Career peak. After numerous internal changes and long-lasting pressure, Dire Straits entered its greatest period of success with the album Brothers in Arms. The record pushed the band far beyond the boundaries of traditional rock and turned it into a global phenomenon. This success also transformed Mark Knopfler into one of the most prominent artists of the 1980s. Brothers in Arms was officially released on May 13, 1985. The album quickly achieved massive sales across the United States, the United Kingdom, and many other international markets. Within a short time, Dire Straits became one of the best-selling bands in the world, with an influence far greater than its earlier albums. The album received praise for its modern production quality and distinctive sound. Mark Knopfler blended rock blues and soft rock with his signature finger-style guitar technique. The sound Dire Straits created on Brothers in Arms left a unique mark on a music industry that was rapidly changing during the mid-1980s. Right after its release, Brothers in Arms topped numerous major charts. The album sold more than 30 million copies worldwide and became one of the most successful records in rock history. This achievement placed Dire Straits among the highest-selling British bands of that era. One of the album's most notable songs was Money for Nothing. The track attracted attention with its signature guitar opening and Sting's guest backing vocals. The song quickly reached #1 on the Billboard Hot 100 and became one of the biggest hits of Dire Straits' career. The music video for Money for Nothing also created a major impact during the rise of MTV. The 3D animated visuals created with computer technology were considered highly modern at the time. The video quickly entered heavy rotation on MTV and helped Dire Straits reach a much larger young audience. Alongside Money for Nothing, the album also featured famous tracks such as Walk of Life, So Far Away, and the title track Brothers in Arms. These songs helped Dire Straits expand its musical style and connect with different groups of listeners instead of remaining limited to the traditional rock audience. Walk of Life became one of Dire Straits' most popular songs thanks to its accessible melody and lighter style compared to many earlier releases. At the same time, Brothers in Arms carried a more somber tone and was considered one of Mark Knopfler's most emotional compositions. The album's success led to the massive global Brothers in Arms tour. Dire Straits performed 247 concerts across multiple countries and attracted enormous crowds. The tour quickly became one of the most successful music events of the 1980s. Large stadiums across Europe, the United States, and Australia were consistently sold out during Dire Straits' performances. The band was viewed as one of the strongest ticket-selling acts of the time. The commercial success of the tour placed Dire Straits alongside the biggest rock groups in the world. In 1985, Dire Straits continued drawing attention after appearing at the Live Aid concert. The band's performance received strong praise for its steady stage presence and outstanding sound quality. It also became one of Mark Knopfler's most memorable appearances on the international stage. At the height of his fame, Mark Knopfler was regarded as a new guitar icon in British rock music. His finger-style playing technique, without a pick, created a sound that stood apart from many guitarists of the same era. His simple but emotional melodic approach also became a defining trademark of Dire Straits. Dire Straits achieved not only commercial success, but also strong recognition from music critics. The band won several major awards, including 2 important Grammy Awards. These accomplishments helped Dire Straits establish itself as one of the most influential rock bands of the 1980s. Brothers in Arms was also viewed as a symbolic album during the boom of the CD era. Its modern recording quality made it a popular choice among CD buyers at the time. The album also became one of the projects that helped drive the early growth of the digital music market. Even though Dire Straits no longer operates at the level of its peak years, the band has continued maintaining a strong influence for decades afterward. Its famous songs still appear on radio stations, digital music platforms, and tribute tours around the world. Musical legacy. After stepping away from regular activity, Dire Straits continued maintaining a strong influence within the international rock music scene. The band's famous songs still appear on radio stations, digital streaming platforms, and major music programs. This has kept the name Dire Straits alive, even though the band no longer performs together. Sultans of Swing is still considered the signature song most closely associated with Dire Straits. The late 1970s hit continues attracting massive numbers of listeners on Spotify, YouTube, and many other streaming platforms. Mark Knopfler's distinctive guitar work is still viewed by many younger musicians as a model to study. Alongside sultans of swing songs such as Romeo and Juliet, Telegraph Road, and Money for Nothing have maintained strong popularity across multiple generations of listeners. Many Dire Straits songs frequently appear on lists of the greatest classic rock tracks of all time. Dire Straits music continues to be performed on many tribute tours across Europe and North America. Projects such as Dire Straits Legacy and Dire Straits Experience attract steady audiences by recreating the band's signature sound. This shows that the appeal of Dire Straits has never truly faded over time. In 2018, Dire Straits was officially inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. This was considered an important milestone, recognizing the band's lasting influence on the history of modern rock music. The event also drew attention when Mark Knopfler chose not to attend the ceremony. Mark Knopfler's absence quickly sparked many discussions among fans. Even so, the other members of Dire Straits attended the event and confirmed that they respected his decision. The move once again showed that Mark Knopfler wanted to maintain distance from the spotlight of the past. In his 70s, Mark Knopfler continues making music, though in a far quieter way compared to his peak years. He spends most of his time in his private studio focusing on songwriting and recording instead of participating in massive concert tours as he once did. In 2024, Mark Knopfler released the solo album One Deep River. The project once again reflected the softer and more personal musical style he has pursued for years. The album received positive reviews from critics thanks to its refined arrangements and the familiar guitar sound associated with his work. Unlike the image of a rock star performing in massive stadiums, Mark Knopfler now prefers a quieter, creative environment with far less pressure. He has repeatedly stated that he feels comfortable with his current life and no longer has any desire to return to exhausting touring schedules. Outside of music, Mark Knopfler has also participated in many charity programs and community projects. The musician has contributed to healthcare, education, and music-related causes in the United Kingdom. This has helped him maintain a positive image long after leaving behind the most famous years of Dire Straits. John Illsley remains the member who has maintained the closest relationship with Mark Knopfler since Dire Straits stopped operating regularly. The veteran bassist has repeatedly stated that he understands why Mark does not want to reunite the band. John Illsley has also said that the two still stay in contact and continue respecting one another. After the peak years with Dire Straits, John Illsley pursued many personal projects outside of music. He has taken part in tribute tours, artistic activities, and spent time painting. In addition, John Illsley also runs a pub in England and has published books about his years with Dire Straits. Dire Straits may never reunite, though what the band left behind continues living on with generations of rock fans. From Sultans of Swing and Brothers in Arms to Money for Nothing, the music created by Mark Knopfler and his bandmates has maintained its appeal for decades. Mark Knopfler's decision not to return to the stage also reflects his choice to prioritize freedom and quality of life instead of continuing to chase fame. If you enjoy stories behind legendary rock artists, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you do not miss upcoming videos.